Hello and welcome to the Morning Skate Podcast Monday edition. We are back. The schedule is wild. 11 games on Monday, 2 games on Tuesday, I think 13 games on Wednesday, and then nothing on Thursday. Massive Friday slate, which I don't know what your plan is for that, but I won't be around to record. Regardless, we're giving the people what they need, and that is a Monday 10K to first. We got to bring home we're thankful for to the holiday season is the Morning Skate Podcast shipping us $10,000 on Monday. So Matt, how are you doing?
Bad.
I'm better than normal on a NFL Sunday. I actually had a very good lineup. I would say that I built like the objective correct way. I just had Reek with the Miami onslaught, and the sharp people didn't. But I played Waddle like an alpha, and I tripled, I think. Almost. Round triple, 2.6x or I don't fucking know. But yeah, so a good little slate. We move on to the sport that matters. I watched, I put on the football for a little bit. Like my lineup's doing well. I just can't sit there and watch it. I really can't anymore. I'm just like, I don't want to. I just end up looking at my phone. It's not enjoyable. But what is enjoyable is hockey. Matt, how was your weekend overall? Any highlights, anything you want to go over?
Is anything enjoyable?
No.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that assessment. Yeah, I don't know. Just typical Sunday shit. Also either getting a little sick or I got my, not to make this a political show, but I got another booster yesterday. So, who knows if the sniffles are to change the season, allergies, whatever else. Yeah, but it's not been a particularly fun day here.
Yeah. I know I recorded kind of through a pretty bad sickness. I never like really miss like anything for sick. I was dead like 2 weeks ago. I just like, I'm just going to survive. And I feel like everyone got sick. Just with my family over the weekend, and my uncle was coughing a little bit. He's like, I was sick 2 weeks ago, like dying. And now I still just cough like every day now. I don't understand. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's the change of the season. And maybe a little bit of extra, but we, regardless, we're going to battle through it. I mean, we're as tough as these players that we're going to be betting on tomorrow, and we show up and we get it done. This blocking shots, and then there's playing through sickness, podcasting through sickness. We're just as brave. So, are you ready to break into the slate? Is there anything else? Is there any other housekeeping notes before we get into it?
Yeah, no, it's a Monday, Wednesday week with the holiday. Friday, we don't know what the slates will look like to do anything in advance. And obviously Thursday night, down in the US, we will be otherwise occupied. So nothing for Friday. If you want, anything on Friday, just make sure you're in the MSP Discord. I'll try and post whatever stuff we have for each of the 2 slates. I'm guessing it'll be 2 slates, something like 1 o'clock, including the 1 to 3 games, and then like a 5 o'clock with 5 through 7 ish. It's a weird day on Friday, but no podcast then. But yeah, you get us for Monday and Wednesday this week.
Don't really know when we record. That's a good point. Even if I brought all my stuff to my parents' house, like my family's weird with Thanksgiving. We like, I always thought this was normal. We eat dinner at like 7:30 on Thanksgiving, like when we normally eat dinner at like 7:30, and everyone's like, that's psychotic behavior. Like everyone eats at noon, and I'm like, no, why do you do it differently? Like, why does it? I don't know. I never got that, but everyone is like in bed and we're just eating dinner. I don't know. So I would literally record at like 10:30 or 11, but I don't know. But we're not going to do that. Yeah. So Friday, just follow us on Twitter or whatever. But that's my Thanksgiving tidbit. Anything else? Let's get into Colorado, Tampa.
Oh, anything else? No, we'll get to stuff as we go. It's a Sunday. We don't have much to work with on Sundays as far as practices are concerned. So there's obviously a huge shakeup in St. Louis with the firing of Bannister and the hiring of Jim Montgomery. Who knows what'll come of that. And there's some other things around the league that are pretty interesting, but not a ton of concrete, rush to point it out type changes. So we'll just try and pontificate the best we can on what Monday's slate will ultimately look like. But certainly, as always, stay tuned to Twitter and the Discord and whatever else to just stay on top of things. Make sure you're not missing out on any news that will impact the slate ultimately. We have 11 games. I can share what a quick view looks like of those games. Let's just zoom on in here. And yeah, here's all 11 games. We're about to start with Colorado at Tampa, but it looks like there's a few standout spots. Vegas going into Philly, Carolina at Dallas. So of course that's mostly Carolina driven. And Seattle at Anaheim, which is entirely, Anaheim driven on the defensive failure side of things. So really, if you're looking for like a positive team, both offensively going against a negative defensive team, in terms of expected goals at 5-on-5, you're looking at just Vegas. Our options have been pretty limited, by solely using this, but it's been relatively successful. I don't know. It's certainly not a guarantee that anything will happen. But yeah, Vegas is probably a good team to sort of plant your flag with off the very start. Looks like their matchup also has a lot of pace, and never a bad thing to back up expected goals with Corsi's. So that's about it. Do you want to get us into the first game here?
Yeah, the first game, Colorado Tampa. Also, if you're not watching on YouTube, chat's already going off. Got a couple people talking about when they ate Thanksgiving because most people are normal. And then honestly, Aaron, that's a really good. I sometimes I forget about I feel like I just get this perception of the fantasy relevance of a team, and the Flames have been so out of my mind. They are literally 1 point back from leading the Pacific. I would not have known that inherently. They're just annoying. They win games and it's 2-1, and I'm just stupid. But that is funny. But yeah, we can get into it over into Tampa, Colorado. It's a minus 112 on the Colorado side. It is, I believe, if it's not our highest total, it's just under the highest total, but I think it is. It's 6.5 minus 118 on the over. I do believe that's the highest total on the slate per the sports book. Kind of makes sense. Star power game. Colorado a bit more broken up now with McKinnon, with Drouin and Lehkonen. Makes it a bit more affordable. Cale Makar is always in play when you're playing Colorado. Tampa doesn't give for the best matchup. It's an 11-game slate, though, but it's definitely, in my opinion, an interesting pivot. It's a spot that I really look to, and I talked a lot about for the Thursday slate about McKinnon's going to be low owned, and it didn't get there. But McKinnon hasn't gotten there in 4 straight. I mean, he hasn't even been close. His highest is a 9.3. So it kind of feels like this could be a decent time to get incredibly low ownership. But that's kind of all it is here. It doesn't look on paper to be the best play in the world, and the price for McKinnon at 9.8 is too high probably, but I don't think people are going to be clicking on it. So any thoughts here on the Avalanche?
I think Jonathan Drouin is in consideration as one of the best point per dollar plays of the night. He's 3,400. He's coming off a 2-goal game in Florida. But it's pretty clear that when you are Nathan McKinnon's line mate and Nathan McKinnon is not shooting, that you are going to be in position to score goals. He since he came back from injury, he joined the top line, I believe, before the Philly game, and he has 3 shot attempts, three shot attempts, and 6 shot attempts. If you're telling me you get an average of 4 shot attempts, for 3,400 on the top power play with as talented a profile as Drouin has, I can't really see a way around it. Very much in play. You certainly don't need to play McKinnon with it, but you obviously can. Rantanen, Middlestat, Nichushkin remains pretty expensive for me to have all too much interest in. Like you say, Tampa's not a great matchup or anything. But Cale Makar remains awesome. He's one of the best producers on this slate, regardless of position, and defense, tends to be a relatively weak position fantasy-wise. So he certainly stands out as well if you're just looking at pure plays to maximize fantasy points. I can't really say, I want to overstack Colorado or anything here, but Tampa's coming off of giving up 7 to Columbus and 4 to Dallas. So certainly not getting them while they're hot. Exactly. So all that to say, Druin, I think, is among the upper class of plays I'm interested in, and the rest I'm fine with, I guess, but nothing major.
Yeah. I still remember when one of the Buffalo beat reporters tweeted after Jonas Johansson got traded to Colorado, funny enough, that he was the worst goalie he'd ever watched in his entire life. And that game against Columbus, I was just like, oh boy, he may have been onto something here. That was bad. Tampa, it's, again, not the best matchup in the world for them either. You know, the Colorado team is getting healthy. There's not as much depth to target. They have a lot of good players at all positions now instead of the truly what is their AHL team? The Eagles. I can't think of the first name, but it wasn't just all AHLers out there.
It's
Colorado Eagles. So it's like, I don't really think I'm going there myself for Tampa, but it is very like the concentration of what they are rolling out is nice to get this kind of perfect little power play correlation with the top line. But I don't think I'm going there myself. I just think I prefer other spots over Tampa 1. But it won't be all that chalky. I don't know.
It feels like forever ago, but Colorado has pretty much turned their defensive woes around. It's not even like they were getting they were playing well and then they were playing fine and getting like terrible goaltending. Now they're playing really well and getting good goaltending. So like anything you might have in your memory bank from like, it's Colorado, doesn't really exist. I feel like the second half of the season so far is more what they are than the first half was. So if you want to spend, all of your money on Tampa, go right on ahead. They did go 11-7, so that would put in, the Nikita Kucherov one-off situation. I certainly would never argue against that, though. With the 22 teams on the docket, certainly not must play. We're not really sure what they're going to do. Darren Radish should be the guy here. But when they go 11-7, they pretty much just keep a bottom 6 and then just double shift Kucherov. So you can pretty much stack whatever you want. Anthony Cirelli's been awesome. Brandon Hagel, of course, is on the power play 1, has a better run of play over the past 10 games than Gensel does from both an expected and an actual standpoint, and is $1,400 cheaper. So I'm not really sure why Gensel is still this expensive. He's just simply not, I think, who he is on other teams, like he was in Pittsburgh or Carolina. Which is to say he has a ton of upside, of course, but nowhere close to the same sort of floor that I think you would want for 7,600. Anything you want to play here? I don't see any depth guys that I'm interested in.
No, I mean, Gensel's a guy that I kind of constantly monitor because historically he's been one of the better rate shooters in the league. I mean, I'd say playing with Crosby, that certainly helps quite a bit. Over the past 10 games, he has 3.7 attempts per game. I don't know how you possibly play a guy. The only way, and again, like I'm not saying you couldn't literally play him because Kucherov, Point, Gensel, I guess I could say, throw them all in there, but like he is massively mispriced. He is not the same player we remember. And just like Jonathan Drouin is shooting more than you. It just makes no sense to me. So I won't be going there myself. I won't be going to Tampa. We can move on to Washington at Florida if you are ready.
Yep. So Washington. So Washington lost to New Jersey. They were one of the few teams that practiced today. Actually, do you want to read through the lines before I talk about line changes?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to read them?
I think I cut you off when you were about to do that. So yeah.
Oh, I was gonna just say that it's 6 over under minus 102 on that over, and Florida's a very big favorite minus 198. Not, I guess, completely shocked, but I was a little bit surprised to see it almost be minus 200, but I guess it's not that crazy. Florida's been great and no OV. Washington is kind of, they've been a great story, but they have always felt like kind of punching above their weight class. And without OV, I do worry that they might start to drop off a bit more. So,
this isn't a betting show by any stretch, but I certainly would not bet on Florida minus 200. Their defense, obviously it's a little bit goaltending driven, but it's been pretty bad. Washington is clearly a talented team. We'll talk about them in just a second here, but yeah, if you want like I want an underdog play of the night, I think Washington would be a good bet there. So talking about Washington though, they were one of the rare teams that practiced on Sunday. They switched up every line. Coach said, I'm not committing to this effectively, but still pretty strange. I don't know what to make of it. So what they went to in practice was Protas, Strome, and Tom Wilson. You'll note that breaks up Washington too. So McMichael, Dubois, and Taylor Radish is what they practiced with. And then bottom six, Lapierre, Eller, Mangiapane, and Duhaime, Nick Dowd, and not Taylor Radish. But there was a missing player for maintenance day. So I can't think of who else that would be, but I promise you he won't matter for fantasy. They also screwed up the D pairs, Faravari, Carlson, and Chikrin Moose down to play with Trevor Van Riemsdyk. So we're still expecting the power play to be Strome, Wilson, McMichael, 3 forwards, and then 2 defensemen, Carlson and Chikrin. Chikrin, of course, is a good bit cheaper than John Carlson, so that's of interest. But yeah, I don't know what to make of these lines. Oh, the Ivan Roshnichenko, I think, would be.
Oh, it is? I was wondering, like,
I don't know. I don't think they sent him down. He only played 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Coach said he liked his game, but like clearly didn't play him. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They've used like Jacob Vrana and guys like that in a weird way all year. They pretty much have 2 lines that they're comfortable with, and one of them is Nick Dowd and Brandon Duhaime. So I actually would not be surprised if Mangiapane played with Duhaime and Dowd, for instance. But it's basically just going to be a mess, I think.
Yeah.
So where I'm looking in this game is pretty much only at McMichael. Again, don't really like the Florida money line or anything like that, but like I'm certainly not pounding the table to play Washington guys because they feel properly priced now for the way they've been producing. But I would keep an eye on the sports books in particular. I think the McMichael props are still a little light. And if they get the matchup priced in, against Florida, maybe that's a spot that you can attack, a point prop or something that's a little bit less juiced than it would be in other matchups. So any other thoughts on Washington?
There's just no need to play them here. Like you said, it's priced efficiently enough. I think Strome is maybe like on paper seems like he's a little bit cheap, but in reality, like I think his upside's too low. So 6,600, I think is about right for what you're getting. So no, I'm also really not all that interested on the Florida side. I guess you could make a case for where you would go. I think there's a couple options here that make sense. Washington, I think, is probably more exploitable than people would think. The problem is I just feel like it's getting a little bit expensive, but there's some interesting notes that you already have up on the screen right now. So I'll let you cover a couple of them, because if you were going to play Florida, maybe you're out there thinking, I'm playing Florida anyways. Screw you. How do you play it?
Yeah, we don't know. They nuked everything before the game, and then they lost. So like, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine about what they do in response to that. Yeah, they gave him a touchdown, plus the extra point, which apparently some teams, actually Washington would know this. The extra point is very important. So
Washington would know that.
Yeah, wow. Look at me. I am the FH Comedy Hour is in session.
Yeah, the funniest joke I've ever heard in my whole life right now on this show. Very good, Matt. So talk about what they did last game, because like you said, we don't know, but the power play one was not what it was before. So
yeah,
tell us about that first power play.
All right. Well, they said, do you like Uvis Balinskis as the value defender? Well, what about Aaron Ekblad at 3,300 on power play 1? And the Donkeys said, yes, please. Yes, please. And they're going to lap it all up on Monday. Aaron Ekblad, 3,300, looks like he will continue to power play their quarterback, that top power play. Again, no guarantee that it sticks given they lost. But with Bennett, Kachuk, Reinhart, Barkov, you'll notice that not only did Verhaeghe get bumped off of the top power play unit, he also got bumped out of the top 6 entirely. Now, I would argue playing with Anton Lindell is just flat out better than playing with Sam Bennett. So, like, maybe and the ice time kind of confirms that too. But when you're playing with Mackie Samoskevich over E2 Luosterainen, I kind of feel like Luosterainen is intending to get more ice time there. All that to say, there's really no certainty on this team beyond Barkov Reinhardt. Erod remains 3,200 on that top line, so you could certainly just play that as an even strength stack. But Barkov and Reinhardt are the best. I don't have anything else colorful to add. Reinhardt just rules. He's so good. You can play him in any matchup, any night. And he's not even 8,000 yet. What does he have to do? I have no idea, but one day he'll get there, maybe.
Yeah, I think you just play Barkov Reinhardt Ekblad if you're playing it. I'm probably not going to, but it's an option that exists on this slate. Are you ready for the next game? Anything else there?
Yes. Nope.
We have Nashville going to the New Jersey Devils, -155 for the Devils, 6 over under. I'm interested in this game. I'm interested on both sides, to be honest. I feel like we're going to get maybe the lowest ownership that Nashville could possibly have. I get why. I do think New Jersey is very, very good, but I could see myself taking a look here and playing a Josi Forsberg. I'm not committed to it right now, but I think I like it more than maybe some of the other stacks that we've covered so far that are really expensive. I'm probably even more interested in the New Jersey side, though, so I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to force that in there. Nashville's it's really hard to – I really don't know how I could possibly put them like talk through how bad the performance has really been for them. Bottom of the league, right down there with the dregs of society, not scoring, not really producing. It just feels like at some point something's got to give. They did get the 4-1 win against Winnipeg. But that would really stop the bleeding against a really good team. Roman Josi, I believe, scored twice. They scored even on the power play. Who would have thought that could happen? I'm not saying they're turning the tides entirely, but I do actually think that the amount of unlucky on top of the fact that some things just haven't really worked as planned, and mainly Stamkos, who I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too hard, but we were pretty on. Just can't find a right spot for him at all. Let's look at the lines they have going here. But I'll let you talk for a second. I think I've gone far enough here. I'm interested, but I don't know how interested. But go.
Yeah, so I mean, the Nashville story has clearly been, middling underlyings and just dismal results. Now, Winnipeg's a team who we certainly have respect for on this show, but we're not sitting here saying they're going to challenge the Boston Bruins as the greatest team of regular season history. So I don't think that this is like, a statement win in the sense that it could change a season or whatever. But it certainly feels good if you're like, this Nashville team can't possibly be as bad as they've shown. They put the boots to Winnipeg. I mean, they controlled over 60% of the game at 5-on-5. And that was especially true for the Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist line. The Marchessault line also had a great night. As you'll know, Stamkos and his friends did not have such a great night, though you'll also note that his line mates that night were Fedor Svechkov and Luke Evangelista. Svechkov obviously just got called up from the AHL, so that was his first NHL game, and Luke Evangelista has been regularly a healthy scratch. So safe to say that Novak and Marchessault is their second line right now. Jankowski is just an everyday NHL player. He's not good. He's also not terrible. So I guess he'll just keep the ball moving. And so Marchessault at 4,400 makes a ton of sense. He's coming off of back-to-back shot bonus games. He even scored in Winnipeg, or against Winnipeg, I should say. So that price, it wasn't owned against Winnipeg, but I wonder if that was more due to the matchup. So maybe going into New Jersey, it's not owned, but I think we got to be on Marchessault just chalk explosion watch, where the first time he goes off at 22% owned, he's going to put up 30. He's been pretty good and just getting very unlucky. Other than that, though, you nailed it with Josi Forsberg. They're great. I don't know if they're great enough to have me interested in them on the road in New Jersey, given you're spending, $15,500 for the pair. But if you're looking at intentionally different, obviously they are good ways to do that. I think it's getting different, but not doing it for the sake of getting different as much as it's playing, again, one of the best two-man stacks we've seen over the past few years together that no one's going to play. I do agree with Marchessault. So I don't know if I would
throw him into that, but I could do that and just hope the power play connects. And, if the goals are happening in that game in general, like that's where it should come through. On the season, March or so, it's kind of been noted by more and more people now. Is like, how did this guy drop off so hard from what I think he had like 40 goals last year? And I think it's a little bit of everything, but he definitely is playing really well again. So 4,400 is just the wrong price.
If you see anyone asking that, just point them my direction, and I'll give them 2 words that are pretty obvious. Jack Eichel.
Yeah, Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel. Okay, thank you. Yeah,
and then Steven Stamkos, it could be the key to Kucherov, or little bit. I didn't really play that much with him. I guess at 5-on-5 with the power play. Okay,
Brandon,
whatever.
It was like Hagel, Kucherov. I guess that's technically 2 words, but yeah, Jack Eichel is a much easier answer for March or so.
New Jersey, they just beat Washington 3-2. They've really been, I guess, there's kind of been this like yin and yang effect of like stacking New Jersey. On one hand, they've gotten, I think, a lot better as a team, getting Luke Hughes back at full health and Brett Pesce now eating up a ton of 5-on-5 minutes and playing really, really well defensively. That pair's been great, but that does take away from a Dougie Hamilton, and the price is starting to reflect a little bit of that role reduction at 5-on-5. Still getting a ton of power play time. Again, every single night you walk into a slate and you want to play New Jersey, you have the decision of the Timo, Nico, nose in line, or the Palat, Hughes, Bratt line. I've wavered back and forth a little bit on both of them at times, but I tend to go with Bratt and Hughes. I think it's maybe not.
Have you now?
Like
any particular instances that you could think of where you've wavered on that line? And
I bet the other way recently, but then I played Bratt and Hughes in DFS the night that they combined for like 65 points or something. But I still lost because my goalie gave up. Right. My goalie was the goalie that gave up. I think it was Elvis, and he gave up 7 or 6,
Elvis
and he won. Yeah. But I mean, again, like I like both of them, and I like both of them for different reasons, and I try to. And this is, I think, even like it's getting even more difficult here because, again, we want to take advantage of some of this Nashville situation. Who is going to be out there against the home team? Right. So who's going to be out there as much as possible against the Forsberg line? Who isn't? It really does matter. Mm-hmm. If you look at Jack Hughes in the last game, he saw a lot of run against basically everyone, but a lot of it was against Dubois and McMichael. Heishier saw most of the run against Dowd, Radish, and Duhaime. I don't know why Washington dictated that more. I don't really know, but I'll let you talk for a second. That's actually I think that really matters here on this slate when you make this decision.
Yeah, they are absolutely going to be a matchup line, Nico Hischier. So going up against Forsberg, I think would make a ton of sense. And then that leaves Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt to run wild on, Tommy Novaks and Fedor Svechnikovs of the world. So that's a pretty clear and obvious delineation there for me. It's also just worth pointing out that Nico Hischier started off the season red hot, leading goal scorer, I think, to 11 or 12 games. Now, did he have 14 games played at that time where most of the league had 10 or 11? Sure. But he was also just playing really well, shooting a lot, and most importantly, pucks are going in. He's not shooting as much as of late, and they're just not going in for him. So there's not even a price discount. Him and Jesper Bratt are effectively the same price. Sure, stacking him with Nason is a good bit cheaper, but I don't know. You can just play Nason with Hughes and Bratt if you really want some correlation. So that's certainly, I would go Hughes Bratt. I am very interested in this Luke Hughes Brett Pesce pairing. Like you've noted, they're playing a ton now. That's taking away from Dougie's 5-on-5 role, which in and of itself isn't great. 6,100 for Dougie, but we know that Dougie Hamilton in 19 minutes can still put up 6-7 shots on goal. The power play role is still there. So I don't really think this matters. Yes, would it be nice if we had double bonus Dougie getting 28 minutes a night? Sure, but I just don't think it's realistic, nor is it really that meaningful. And I almost am wondering if I play Hughes and Bratt, if I don't just play Hughes and Pesce both with it, just fill up those slots and say, look, Brett Pesce is literally, he's at 5 of his last 6 games with the shots bonus, and and he's 2,700 coming off a 25-minute time on ice game.
Yeah.
Siegenthaler, Kovacevic were their shutdown line. It's fine. But Brett Pesce is clearly going to be their defensive ace down the stretch. And if Luke Hughes is getting 20 minutes a night, he's going to break a slate for 2,700. He's that good. Now, is he getting power play one? No, but at 5-on-5, if he's with Jack Hughes, come on. I'm really playing around with that idea. It depends, I think, on how the rest of defense shapes up. And, there's spots where I feel like there's obvious D values that I really like. But if you really don't like D, honestly, in the near future, I do think Luke Hughes and Pesce are a good little stack there. You might even get 2 assists on the same goal type nonsense. But really, it's just about the time on ice and the rates they both put up as far as Luke Hughes offensively and Pesce with his blocks.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Pesce's a better goalie than Jonas Johansson at this point. The guy's got a ridiculous amount of blocks coming into this game. That was one where I was like, he's 2,700. Like, they just refuse to price him up. I mean, he has 0 points, so maybe it's just a little bit to do with that. But yeah, it's an interesting spot. Not projecting him to score a goal or anything, but you just never know. Like, if he does do something ridiculous, like he could put up a score that really could set you apart. So I'm really interested in all three of the defensemen. Like you said, Dougie's really not even out of play in general. It's just it's not quite what it was, but I think it's fine. So yeah, I think if you're stacking New Jersey, and I really do like the spot a lot, then you're fine.
We have a cat joining the show.
Any of the three. They're high.
Yeah.
Right. We can move on though. As you mentioned, I woke up this morning and I was kind of looking through stuff and I was like, wait, did St. Louis fire their coach and bring on David Montgomery? Holy crap. Like, there it is. It kind of was like,
are you going to do this every show, DJ?
Oh my God.
Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery? Just come on. This is a hockey show, sir.
Go Lions, man. Whatever. Jim Montgomery, you know what I mean. David Montgomery. God. His middle name is probably David. I don't know him personally. He looks like a middle name David type of guy to me. Goes over to St. Louis. First game in New York against the Rangers. Minus 245 on that Rangers side. Big favorites, but you know what? The new coach bounce. If no one going to talk about it, are we going to have to be the ones to mention the new coach bounce? I think we are right now on our own podcast. So if they get that new coach bounce, Thomas Kyrou, Buchnevich, anyone? Revenge game for Buchnevich?
That is also true. But we don't even need those narratives, I think. This Rangers team got absolutely dummied by Calgary. Igor Shesterkin had the saves bonus with 30 minutes left to play. Yeah, sure. Calgary was doing their donkey shots from everywhere garbage that they always do. But the Rangers are just awful. They have their nights where they show up and they're really good. And it's like, yeah, this is a playoff team. No problem. But then they pull what they did in Alberta because they followed that up with a trip to Edmonton where they got absolutely boat raced by a Evan Bouchard-led Oilers team where Bouchard was literally throwing up seconds before the game started. And he was like, actually, I'm just going to go drive play here against this garbage tire fire. So, yeah, I don't know what St. Louis is going to do. It makes sense that they would leave the top line alone. But, Jim Montgomery could have grand ideas on what to do here. I just don't know. I don't think there's much that we could say, if this guy moves to the top line, though, he's a great option. Because, the Zach Boldukes, the Dylan Holloways of the world, I still think that there's a decent amount of risk in their time on ice, even if they do get those bumps for this matchup, But if we get Kyrou, Thomas, Buchnevich, it's $16K. I'm totally fine with it. Otherwise, I can't say I have a ton of interest in this spot for St. Louis or for the Rangers, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that. And I do love Jake Neighbors. I think his price is interesting. I'll say this. Going into last year, I feel like I wasn't quite as high on him. Going into this year and Best Puck and stuff, I feel like I was sort of I just don't really see how he's getting there. But I do actually think he's of note at 3,400 for sure. Especially if he gets a bump up to the top line, I just keep an eye on that guy because he can definitely score, and they definitely do like to find him on the power play. But you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to play. I'm probably not going to play St. Louis, but I do think that they're actually at least in the realm of possibility to play tomorrow. I just think at 11 games you don't have to. The Rangers, as you kind of already said, I doesn't really feel necessary. Again, I am a never the Benajad guy. 5,600 still too much for me. I'm just not going to click on him. That means I'm probably not clicking on Kreider. That's just the way that goes. I like other things outside of Panarin more than Panarin. 8,900. It's coming down in price a little bit. I could see like a scenario where you go with that line, of Panarin and Trocheck. Like Trocheck at 6,200 is bad, but not terrible. But yeah, just not for me. Not on this slate. No. So yeah.
There's really nothing else happening here, I think, that I have any interest in. Yeah, you can try the Zibanejad nonsense, but it's going to get ownership in this spot given their implied team total. And I have no interest in such a thing. So,
yep.
Yeah, Zach Jones missed last game, but we saw that I believe he was expected to return. So I have him penciled in to the second power play. Actually, what did they do on the second power play without him? No. Did it help them? No. Let's see. It was Trouba. So Trouba's been he's been Jacob Trouba. He's 4,800, so you're not getting a ton of value or anything from it. But if you want a guy who can literally get you 30 while getting one actual hockey point, he's one of only a few guys who can do that, who aren't, 7,000.
Just play Pesci. Pesci's not going to shoot the puck.
Sure, yeah. They're different, but yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Intent.
But with the price, yeah, okay.
Let's go to Vegas where we have red alert. No longer is it. Victor Olofsson, Pavel Dorofeyev. I think Brett Howden got a spin up there. Nick Waugh got a spin up there. Alexander Holtz got a spin up there. We have Callahan Burke on the Jack Eichel, Ivan Barbashev line. Now, DJ, do you think this stopped Vegas from absolutely running over Montreal on Saturday?
I know it didn't. I know
it did not. It did not.
It did not.
No.
12 minutes of Cal Burke gets it done, scores a goal. I don't know. I don't know anymore. This Vegas team, at the end of the day, it just what it really is that Jack Eichel is this good and maybe better. He might be better than just this good. We are always going to be on Victor Olofsson watch. He is playing in Henderson right now. So keep an eye on that. Like they're getting him ready to come back. And when he does, he could be right back where Cal Burke is. Not sure about that top power play role, but there seemingly could be a spot for him as well. So do keep an eye on it. I did not find anything confirming when he will be back. It's right around now though. So do keep an eye on that for sure going into the slate. I truly think you could just one-off Jack Eichel or play him with like a Shea Theodore and be fine though. I think Jack Eichel is an amazing play on this slate. And another reason why it's really hard for me to want to play Tampa or Colorado or Florida. The Devils, like I said, I like a lot. Definitely can't afford the Rangers. Like I want to play Jack Eichel if possible. People are, I think, maybe a little bit scared to play against Philly. I don't know if that's true. If that might not be. Maybe we've finally kicked that to the curb from last year when they seemingly figured it out defensively. And I do think that Philly's gotten healthier defensively, which matters. Like Cam York comes back. Like they have like an actual D core now that isn't AHLers. But nevertheless, I think we're maybe forgetting about how good Jack Eichel's been this year. 32 points in 21 games. Just does it every single night. Does it in a variety of ways. And does it with whoever's out there with him. Like you could one-off him or you could play him skinny with a one-man sack. I do like to play a lot. I'm gonna get my water quick though. So I'm just gonna you talk for a second.
All right. Yeah. So clearly, Cal Burke is not he's not going to add a ton to any lineup that you're building. So like, sure, if you want to click a 2,500 guy, it's no different than the Alex Holtz play. In all honesty, for 2,600. Of course, the difference there is that we have a far better track record for Holtz of being just an uber prospect, top 10 draft pick there. Cal Burke was undrafted And also Kelberg is already 27 years old. So like, it's not like he's a guy who's coming into his own, but if you want a Jonathan Marchessault, 2.0, Kelberg is your closest thing. So, it's fine. 2,500 alongside Eichel. Even if he's playing only 6 shifts with Eichel, he could very well score and pay off the price tag. And he's probably going to get, more in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 shifts if we're talking 50 seconds a shift and he's going to play 11 minutes. I can't say anything terrible about the play, given in his time in the NHL, he showed up in Toronto, and then he had 4 shot attempts, 2 shot attempts, and then 5, of course, also scoring against Montreal on Saturday. So he's going to shoot. Clearly, his AHL numbers show as much. You're not going to get, a true superstar breakout from a guy, but you don't need that when he's 2,500. The other thing of note here, of course, is that Alex Pietrangelo remains out of the lineup. I don't think he's with the team right now. I could be wrong. I didn't see anything concrete on his status for Monday. But given I believe that his return would sort of necessitate like a cross-country flight, I think that he would be out again. And that leaves Shea Theodore getting a total monopoly of the D minutes here. Yes, Noah Hannafin is going to play, 23, 24 minutes as well, but Theodore in any sort of close game will play 25 minutes like he did in Ottawa. And for 5,700 on the top power play, that's my preferred way to stack with Jack Eichel. Theodore just gets more defensive minutes when Petrangelo's not in, which obviously makes a ton of sense given Theodore's already getting all of the offensive minutes. But just as far as like your 5-on-5 time goes, it's just so much better without Pietrangelo. And therefore, even though he's a bit priced up for what he's done lately at 5,700, I have no problem going back to the Shea Theodore well. On Saturday, I want to say he put up 20 something. Yeah, he put up 21 after a 17 spot. So yeah, 5 blocks, 3 blocks, 3 assists in the last 2 games.
Yep. Eichel Theodore, good play. On the other side of the house, Philly has been pretty solid, I'd say. Like not the record wise, but I feel like DFS wise, they've been interesting. Like every slate has been at least of note.
They've been a fucking circus every slate. Yes,
they've been a circus. That honestly, I feel like I was being way too polite. They've been a fucking circus, and that's been fun. And that's the funny thing is like I think about Philly and such I love Philly. Like how much fun they're having, and then I think of the Flames, and I'm like, boo, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're in like first place, like in the Pacific, and Philly's like gonna be picking number 1. It's just funny how like fantasy can warp your brain a little bit, but this is we're getting Tippett, Frost. Wait, I thought this is right. Yeah, Tippett, Frost, and Michkov, Farabee, Konechny, and Couturier. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I'm playing it, but I don't know how I would play it if I was gonna play it. Probably Michkov. You go.
Yeah, even if these are the lines in warm-ups, which we have no idea what they're going to be, obviously, they're not going to hold. Like, just play whatever guys you want, and they'll be on the ice with each other about as often as any other guys. So maybe that's just the key. Maybe you just click Konechny, you click Michkov, and you say, all right, Torts, put them in the blender, do whatever you want. If there's a goal scored out there, I'm getting a point on it pretty much, because this team is totally run through Konechny and Michkov at this point. Tippett is just a figment of our imaginations. We see him flying up and down the ice, and Torts is like, actually, I want a guy who can't even stand up on his own 2 feet on the top power play in Tyson Forster. It's pretty indefensible, but it is what it is. And Michkov is truly it. Like 4K just is silly. I think Michkov is going to find his way into my Eichel Theodore lineups and just sort of say, yeah, this game has 7 goals instead of 5 or whatever. Because I think that Michkov at 4K could very clearly put up 20. And he hasn't been shooting much. He's been shooting a little bit more before the healthy scratches though, and I certainly expect him to improve as the season goes on. I also expect Tortorella to tell us when he's like, hey, this guy fucking sucks. And he's never said that. Every single person in that locker room, to a fault, loves Michkov, the person, the player, the worker. So I think that when he starts to slow down, whether he gets tired or whatever, like just fatigue wise, I think we'll find out about it from Torts. And of course, we're just getting none of that at the moment. And so coming off that OT winner, I mean, the entire tenor of this Philly conversation is dramatically different than it was last year, which is shocking because they're worse than they were last year results wise, but like their process is just so much better because it's actually sustainable to produce results when you have elite talents like Michkov on the ice. And everyone sees that. It's so obvious, except DraftKings, because Michkov is $4,000.
Yeah.
Whatever. He might score, he might not. And if he doesn't score, he'll kill you. But
yeah,
it is what it is. That's the game we play. Upside is all that matters.
Right. It's an interesting. I mean, like this slate feels very stars and scrubs. That's how the build's going to be. You're probably going to have to pay up for a couple guys. You're probably going to have to pay down for a couple guys like 4K Michkov, and man, he still is a star though. So like it doesn't feel as bad. Yeah. What's going on?
I was just gonna tell Thad to wait till later in the show, and DJ will announce his recurring spot recapping the slate.
I haven't. Yeah, I can't recap the slate yet. I'm saving my habitual and ritualistic recap. World famous, really. Many people are talking about it around the world. But I'd save it for the end when I recap the whole slate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we move into another decent profile, or I get another game that profiles decently. Carolina, Dallas. Of course, this is mainly driven by both those teams being very good offensively. But when you look at the expected goal pace for the slate, we have the Philly Vegas game, Dallas Carolina, and the upcoming Seattle Anaheim games as like the highest expected goal paces, just based on their 5-on-5 trends. So Carolina, Dallas, a little bit of intrigue here. What do the sportsbook have to say about it?
What does the sportsbook? It is a 6.5 -102. Carolina -125 favorite. Yeah, I mean this is like two of the projectable cup favorites, really, on either side. It's an interesting game. I know that no matter what I want to do here, I will not play Duchesne, Marchment, and Sagan, and they'll score 4 goals. So what does it really matter? I'm just gonna, look at that Hintz line, that Hintz, Robertson, and Johnson line. I'm gonna look at it like 3 times. I'm gonna put it in it twice, and I'm gonna take it out and not play it. But I do like it. I just don't think it's necessary. It's not overpriced, but it's just a bad matchup, and it's just expensive enough to where I think I'm not going to have it in there.
Yeah, the main, I guess, the positive thing that we're seeing in Dallas is that the Robertson, Hintz, Johnson line with Ben and Heiskanen were their top unit in Tampa. They scored in Tampa, so we're at less risk of it just being a minute 20 of Marchment, Duchesne, and Sagan doing nothing before passing the torch on the power play. The line is basically the same salary as Dallas 2, which is very funny. They're actually 100 cheaper, 17.8 for Robertson, Hintz, Johnston, which just goes to show how good Dallas 2 has been. Not trying to take that away from them. But is it sustainable? Probably not. I can't say with good conscience that I have much interest here. The prices have gone up pretty much across the board. And again, this is like the worst possible matchup going into Carolina. Now, I guess I'll just transition over, but it is worth noting in Carolina, there was no goaltending to speak of. Kochetkov got injured. It does not look good for him. Freddie Anderson had surgery. Is out for a while as well. So we could be seeing like multiple months of Spencer Martin and Yaniv Peretz as their 2 goalies. John Gibson, the phone's ringing. But the good news is that they do get Seth Jarvis back. He was activated off of IR today. No indication of where he will slot into the lineup. Obviously, he could go in alongside Svechnikov, Aho, and Roslovic could slide out of the top 6. But I would anticipate he either goes there or alongside Martin Nukenstall. So he should be top power play. He was awesome before he got hurt, and he is $5,000. So any interest in the Carolina side of this matchup?
No. I mean, I'm still going to hold true to myself and say that I'm just not stacking against Dallas. I see where you could stack. I mean, there's if I was going to do it though, if I was going to break my rule, which has been fine. I mean, yeah, Dallas has probably given up a couple games here or there, but I think overall in the season they've still been one of the better teams at limiting fantasy success. If I had to, I probably just go Aho Svechnikov for the 900th time and get mad when they fail. But what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking Jarvis Gostisbehere Aho, personally.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I'll be able to find the money for both Svechnikov and Aho. Gostisbehere 4,100 is, we're riding the roller coaster up and down with Gostisbehere, but he's coming off of 20 minutes in 3 of his last 5 games. I like for whatever it's worth, this has turned into their second pair over Orlov and Chatfield for the last 10 games. So, I kind of like that for Gostisbehere. He's not broken any slates lately, but as the price falls, I do think that this matchup is worth considering. And honestly, I think I'd rather just play Jarvis before we see it because for 5,000, on that top power play, I think if you told me Jarvis was 6,500, I'd be like, okay, sure, whatever. It's Carolina. Who knows? So why not take the discount on someone who we know is massively talented before we sort of see him return from injury? And it doesn't matter where they slot, into the lineup because Jarvis and Gostisbehere are going to be power play correlated regardless. They're going to be values regardless of where they go. And there's only upside, for Jarvis as far as whether he goes alongside Aho Svechnikov or not. So that's where my head's at. Again, I like the spot a decent amount just because I don't think that these teams want to play like 2-1 patty cake type hockey. But I do think they do have, a lot of talent. And so like, let's just let the talent play out against one another. And so I side Carolina very slightly, but I also think that there's better values on Carolina. So why not take advantage of that?
Yeah, I agree with the Seth Jarvis situation, but again, I just don't think I don't think it's necessary to stack against Dallas, so I probably won't. Um, we get to the big Canada game, the Flames at the Ottawa Senators. God, I mean, I think every time I look at the Flames, I just get a little bit angry because I want to play them. I want to play against them, and every single one of their games inevitably ends 3-2 or 2-1. That's just the way it's always going to be forever, and the Flames will win. And the prices are cheap. The defensemen are not. If you want to play one of these Calgary defensemen, you're gonna have to take out a loan to afford either of them.
I don't know who
I don't
Rasmus
know.
Anderson pissed off. But
Like he's been
DraftKings
good.
does not want anyone to play him.
They refuse to allow him to grow as a person by pricing him as prohibitively as they have. Like it's actually affecting him on a personal level. I feel like how is he 7,100 now? I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, he's like hits blocks. Like I think this was like my whole case for him in Best Puck was like he actually blocks a lot more shots than you maybe think. 3 straight blocks bonuses, and DraftKings is like, whoa, 7,100. Like he's Roman Yossi. It's like, okay, like sure.
Yeah. There's just no like there's very little upside to Anderson. So like, is he gonna get you 40 to way Kale McCarr can? Like just like never. So like that's the only problem with it. Like, trust me, I would love to sit here with 5,500 Rasmus Anderson and say, okay, well, Pospisil Kadri Kuzmenko is gonna run you, 12K, 11.4, and Rasmus Anderson, is another 5.5. He could double bonus, get you 20. Like you're swimming. Like it's great. But like 7,100 just makes it so hard to build a good team around it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not that interested in it.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you possibly do this to success with the Flames. Like, and again, Ottawa's been pretty good. I think it gets.
They just keep losing. It's that pesky thing.
They just keep losing. Like it's funny. Like, and so maybe it is a bit of score effects. Like they trail in games or whatever. But like I mean that it factors in. I don't know. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say here?
That's what happens when your net XGs are like, plus 0.1 on a 10 game rolling basis,
Yeah.
and your net goals against are -2. Like, they're scoring a goal less than they should, or than the league average, and they're allowing a goal more than the league average or 5-on-5, even though their expecteds are about net even. So like, yeah, it's really tough to overcome that. But doesn't help when you're doing things like putting Adam Gaudette on your top line. I can promise you that.
No.
But they don't really have many other options. I mean, Ridley Gregg sucks. Drew
Yep.
Norris Batherson is a good second line, so they just wanted to leave that alone. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to move Shane Pinto up and just like
Yes. Move
nuke your
Pinto
third
up.
line?
Exactly.
Well,
Move
Pinto
Pinto
also
up.
sucks is the problem. Like,
Hey, oh wait, that's not good. Okay, all right.
okay, but like,
Stop being mean.
you're just there's really not much you can do. So in comes Adam Gaudette, early season savior of the Ottawa Senators, to play alongside Kachuk Stutzla. They are playing against Calgary, so my antenna's up. Calgary continues to convert about half of the shots attempted on them, or half of the expected goals against them into goals. Like, they're just saving expected goals like it's going out of style. Um, it's going to stop at some point. Like, these goalies are not prime Dominic Hasek, Dan Vladar, and Dustin Wolf. Like, yeah, so it's going to break at some point. It would be very, very convenient for it to be against an Ottawa team that can't buy a break right now. But yeah, if it doesn't hit, you're going to get a 40 save win out of the Calgary goalie, and that'll just be very, very frustrating.
Yep. That's about the size of it. I do think that you pull up the slate 7,400 for either goalie and for Calgary, and I know Aaron in here saying you could play the Calgary. I think a lot of people are going to have the same thought though, like just play the goalie here, whatever. Like they're constantly getting there. They're constantly. It's like I think that's going to be pretty popular. 7,400 Wolf or Vladar in a matchup, which I guess they didn't read the sports book yet, but it's minus plus 130, 6 total for the Flames. Not that crazy, but I think people will kind of convince themselves that line isn't maybe as good, but maybe it won't be as chalky as I think. I think it could end up being chalky to play the 7,400 goalie here. I don't think many people are going to click on Ottawa. I probably am one of those people as well that won't end up clicking on Ottawa. Just not my favorite matchup. There's only so many spots that I think are going to kind of make the mix for me. This one's probably just on the outside looking in. I continue to track Shane Pinto. The minutes are there, but just the power play role is not. I don't really know. Maybe I just don't know what Shane Pinto is anymore. I thought he was this great shooter that when he saw the good role, he could kind of be more impactful in fantasy, and that just has not been the case in this season. So, yeah, I'm probably out here on both sides of this game, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if you play Kachuk Stutzla, I think you just have to play Gaudette. I mean, he's been really good in a super duper limited role. Like, he averages 8 minutes of 5-on-5 time per game this season. So like, obviously that could hold if he's in the spot. He could very well just get moved down or double shifted somewhere out of the quote unquote top 6 minutes. But if you're betting on Kachuk Stutzla, Gaudette is good enough on a rates basis to warrant consideration, definitely. And then my preferred way to go is Norris and Batherson, 9,400. I'll keep an eye out on ownership for that. If it looks like it's going to be 10%, like, I'll just I'll move on from it. But if not, I certainly like it, and it feels like a very not prohibitive way to bet against Calgary, and I will continue to do that until I truly have nothing left to my name and just this podcast. Yeah. So, Detroit Islanders, as we cross over the hour mark, oh boy, 4 games left. What do we have for Detroit and the Islanders? Well, I get some water.
Shockingly, the lowest total, tied actually for the lowest total on the slate, 5.5 minus 112. The Islanders are minus 166 favorites. You might be thinking, didn't you guys just talk about this game on Thursday? And you'd be correct. 2-1 on Thursday. The Red Wings won, I believe, right? Yeah, it was the third period. They scored twice to win it. It's not obviously a very interesting game because the total is really low. We just saw it and it was boring. I tend to try to avoid Islanders games at this point. They're just a very slow, boring team that wants to be slow and boring when they don't have Matt Barzal. They want to grind the pace to a halt. They want to play defensive now. It's a frustrating brand of hockey. That game had a total of 4 expected goals and only went for 3. That's not that surprising. The only player that's seemingly been consistently producing is freaking Kyle Palmieri. As far as, well, I mean, but from a fantasy perspective, or at least expect the fantasy perspective, and I think he leads them in points too. Honestly, he's been kind of the only like super consistent player that like is always kind of driving some level of offense, and that's just not what I'll be clicking on. To be honest, so yeah, I think this game's gonna be a fade for me, but I'll be willing to listen to anything on the other side here from you.
I mean, well, first Detroit. I don't have any interest in Detroit against the Islanders. They clearly showed they are not able to do anything against them. Kane, Casper, DeBrincat, interesting, but not. I don't think I can make 14.6 work for that line. There's some question mark on availability of Rasmussen, maybe Berggren, one of those two. So I'm not sure what the bottom 6 looks like. Frankly, doesn't. Who the hell cares? Raymond, Larkin, Tarasenko, top line. Again, it's going to be there for you. But the only interest I have is on the Islanders side. The top line, thoroughly overpriced. 14.6 for these guys, 2 of whom just suck out loud. At least Anders Lee shoots a bunch, so like whatever. Siplikov, Nelson, Palmieri. They're only one of the 5 best lines in the entire fucking NHL. And DraftKings like, here, 12.2K for them, coming off of just absolute bonanza of a night for them. I think Brock Nelson scored, had an assist, and Palmieri scored twice with an assist or some combination of that. The line itself put up like 60. You would never guess that they were a perfect salary match to my Pittsburgh 2 from Saturday, when I was like 20 points away from like the top of like small field contests with 4 total points from Pittsburgh 2. And again, they put up 50. So yeah, I'm a little jarred by that. I'm a little frustrated considering it was just Tuesday where I was like, I'm going to play Brock Nelson, and he did nothing when I had the absolute nuts around it. So I don't know. Am I just going to go for 3 here? Probably.
Yes.
But man, I mean, this line has been so good. Like the minutes are there. Yeah, the game environment isn't great, but they're never going to lose minutes to the 4th line. The 4th line is literally playing 5 minutes a night. The power play is definitely clicking. Like it's just solid. Like you even watch them and you're like, yeah, this isn't just a second unit that's just like donkey chucking and dump and chasing. Like, no, they're getting set up, they're working it, they're making passes, they're getting, good looks and movement and everything else. So yeah, the production feels pretty sustainable. The expected are incredible at 5-on-5, and they're 12.2K. Yes, sure they might be 12% owned again, but who the hell cares? Like they're so cheap, they make any line work. Like I don't know. I think they're the best play of the night, and it's absolutely horrifying because they don't look great, but like it looks fine, and it's way, way, way too cheap.
And I'm guessing you're jamming the Dennis Cholowski revenge narrative.
Oh my God, you're so right. Former first rounder Dennis Cholowski. Oh,
the Slate
he's bad.
Yeah, okay.
And the way you bet on it, you say, oh, well, he's going to make sure that power play works extra hard and gets more goals. So even more reason for Islanders to.
If Dennis Cholowski has a power play assist, it doesn't mean you need to have him, but that'd be fun. That would be fun. It's a bad game. It's the only play in the game. I agree. I kind of felt like I was going to start to talk about them, but I'm like, I know you have stuff to say. Are you interested in throwing Tipslikov into that mix? You never really said his name, but I assume you would throw
Yeah,
Maxim Tipsakov into the mix, right? Okay, just making sure.
yes. Nothing has changed about. We talked about him coming over and like, oh, he might be pretty good and he looks pretty offensively gifted. And yeah, he's not getting a ton of points to show for it, but again, he's playing on one of the 5 best lines in hockey. And he's 2,800 with decent underlyings. So like, yeah. Let's keep that up.
So 3 games left are tied actually for the lowest total game with the Detroit Islanders is Winnipeg at Minnesota. I tend to disagree with that a little bit more. I kind of like this game. It's again, I think it's just because of the Winnipeg of it all here. We'll kind of go and break this all down, but
I think it's the Minnesota of it all, honestly. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I like the Winnipeg of it all. The Minnesota of it all is why it's a low total. But yeah, so I really like Winnipeg 1 here. It's expensive, but Velarde continues to be underpriced and it's affordable. I'm going to be considering it. I'm not saying I'm, I like it more than maybe most stacks. The full correlation. Gabe Velarde has just been incredibly good. I wonder if I would normally wonder, like, is he just going to see ownership regardless? Is this going to be a situation where, Connor and Scheifele are 4 or 5 or 6% and Velarde's, 12, but there's so many good, cheaper spots on this slate that I don't even know if that's going to be all that piled on and the low total and the Minnesota kind of situation here. So yeah, I kind of like Winnipeg 1 there. It's minus 120 for them on the road. I think I'm going to be giving it a good look at Winnipeg 1, though. Any thoughts on the Jets?
Yeah, unheralded, maybe, but Dylan Sandberg broke his foot blocking a shot this weekend, so he'll be out for a while, several weeks, it sounds like. And so that turns the top 4 from Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, that's been playing very, very well, into something like Hayden Fleury in that role, or Ville Heinola, who, Heinola especially has been a common refrain on this show and other sort of prospecty analytics type ventures, where he's one of those guys who like shows up and does really well in sheltered minutes and then just, never gets a role in the top 4. So, that can mean one of 2 things. Like, one, there's going to be a value piece getting 20 plus minutes, though. Are those minutes valuable? Who knows? Probably not if it's Hayden Fleury. Possibly if it's Ville Heinola. Definitely if it's Colin Miller. But again, the righty lefty thing probably precludes Colin Miller from getting 20 minutes alongside Pionk. But just kind of more concerning to me is that this might actually really hamper them defensively. Is Minnesota going to capitalize on that? Probably not. But yeah, you can make an argument for this game because of the values like Velarde and like pieces on the Minnesota side. So I guess I won't say anything else concrete here. For Minnesota, without Kaprizov, it sounds like they're just letting him rest his knee injury. The MRIs came back clean, so like he's not out long term. Whether that means he's back on Monday, I'm not sure. I don't think he's officially been ruled out, but I would be surprised if he did play. Just worth noting that without him, Johansson, or actually Marco Rossi stepped into the top power play job there. And actually scored the game tire as well, so maybe a bit of good run there for him. But of course, Marco Rossi's price is 5,200 because he had been performing really well alongside Kirill Kaprizov. So like not having him, that sucks. Ryan Hartman though, 4,300. It's a really good value in the top 6, top power play alongside Rossi. Marcus Foligno, not great, but 2,500 in the top 6 and on a power play as a result. And Marcus Johansson is fine at 3K alongside Eriksson Akinboldi, though again he did not get the top power play gig last game. So I guess I'm sort of looking at this as like just a lot of sadness all around. I don't really see anything that I'm interested in. But if you take the argument that Winnipeg losing a valuable top 4 defender makes this game a bit more of a high event game, then clearly building around Boldy adding in a couple values, you could see a game stack to make this work. And yes, without Declan Chisholm, Brock Faber was power play 1. 4,300, probably not getting any clicks. If you play Matt Boldy, I would be fine stacking with Brock Faber. You shouldn't do it, but if you did it, it's, he's 500 less than Jacob Trouba, and they're going to get fantasy points in very different ways. But like, there's some games where Brock Faber just puts up 15, and that's fine for his price tag. So,
all right. So Matt is gone insane. That's fine. That's okay. That's fine. Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, I mean, the problem with Minnesota is exactly what you were talking about with Rossi in general, though. It's like everyone's priced up as if they have correlation to Kirill Kaprizov, and if they don't have correlation to Kirill Kaprizov, they all get quite a bit worse. So, yeah, I'm probably Winnipeg or nothing here. I do like kind of the note about, Sandberg has been really reliable. What size of a difference does he actually make? Hard to say. It's not nothing. But yeah, I like Boldy a ton. I get why you play him, but I just don't think 8,200 is going to make my mix. I really do like Winnipeg 1 quite a bit here. So they're up there in the upper echelon. I can move over to Seattle Anaheim if you're ready. This is another game I kind of like. I feel like it's sneaky, but is there anything else you want to mention on Minnesota?
Just there's like Aaron here in the chat, Cap probably back tomorrow. I'm not of that mindset. The reporting said that he's day to day and they will continue to monitor him for when he can return. That doesn't sound like he's back tomorrow. Like, he's still sore and they're not going to ask him to play through a sore knee. So I'm coming down on it being very unlikely he plays tomorrow, but of course not confirmed. So we'll just have to wait and see.
So either Matt's going to be wrong and we get to make fun of him, or that I don't know where else. Yeah, I was play Winnipeg. So cool.
People making fun of me is the least of my concerns. It's the least of my problems, I should say, because Saquon Barkley just scored like a 97-yard touchdown somehow.
Glad I didn't play that slate. So Seattle traveling to Anaheim. Are you ready?
Indeed.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I was really intrigued by this Beniers, McCann, Burakovsky line, as you note here, kind of fully correlated. The last game against LA, they kind of ran like very weird with what the power play was in general, but those three did all kind of get run in some capacity on the power play. So I'm going to definitely keep an eye on that moving forward. That line is interesting. Sprong comes right back and gets quite a bit of run. I mean, a trailing game against LA, but he had 19 minutes, which is always very worth noting. Like, the guy shoots, the guy scores. 18 minutes, 19 minutes for Sprong is very, very good. And then the problem with that second line for Seattle is they have no one that could actually score a goal. Like, Chandler Stevenson, I don't know if I've ever watched it. Like, it's like he actually is allergic to scoring. It's like he will have the perfect opportunity and somehow find a way not to score. So I think that's one offable, especially against Anaheim, who is very bad defensively. Those are probably the ways you want to go here. Bjorkstrand back on top power play at 3,300 might get looks. I kind of prefer Sprong myself. We'll talk about Montour, but 7K for Montour kind of feels a little bit excessive. So what are we thinking here for Seattle? The best matchup so far, I would say. All things considered.
The problem with playing Sprong is that Schwartz and Stevenson are just going to be colossally owned alongside of him somehow.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to see where Sprong puts up 15 without Schwartz and Stevenson doing much of anything. But it gets tougher and tougher to sort of build that case when you're talking about Sprong getting 25 or something that really makes him like a must play. So with the perfect correlation in Schwartz and Stevenson, with Schwartz in particular just being a fine fantasy asset, I struggle with the idea of not stacking around Daniel Sprong. But Daniel Sprong is the only player on this team I have any interest in. It's a complete circus. You noted the time on ice for Sprong. This is one of a few teams for a revenge spot for Daniel Sprong, might I remind you. So there's that little bit of an anecdote. But basically, anytime a guy comes in, scores a goal on 6 shot attempts, and then the next game plays 18 minutes. By the way, he played 14 in that first game, and then he plays 18 minutes and has 8 shot attempts or 9 shot attempts. I'm not looking at it right now. I'm certainly listening, and Daniel Sprong has my attention. It's just a matter of, can you stomach, a 20% owned one-off? My general rule is no, but they're rules for a reason. They're made to be broken. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Anyone else on Seattle you're interested in?
I will not come to the table with any other Seattle Kraken in my lineup, but I understand why you would.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. I'll probably echo it to a large extent. I get it, but it doesn't matter. Anaheim also kind of feels like a circus. I just don't really like Cronin as a coach. I think he somehow takes a team that, I think that the only thing that's saving him right now is the fact that everyone thinks they're really bad. And I don't. I actually think they're a lot better than the results have dictated. And it's somewhat because of him. But here we are again, back looking at a team that is cheap. They have some decent correlations. They have some highly touted prospects, and they have a defenseman that we both love. Are you considering playing them against the Seattle team that I believe we're both somewhat low on, but also I don't really know if I'm low on them in the respect that, like, I don't I want to stack against them often. I just, they're just like a little bit different than the Islanders to me, Seattle is. So like, you know what I mean? Like what do you guys, you go.
Yeah. The prices they came up pretty quickly here. But just a week ago for Toronto was, I think, 4,900. Terry like 4,800. Zellweger was 4K or 3,500. We're just seeing the creep. Generally speaking, if McTavish does not return Monday, which he was mixing in and out with Jansen Harkins in practice, so if you read into what lines would be if McTavish returns, it would be Johnston, McTavish, Brock McGinn, like just horrifying stuff. That's if McTavish doesn't play, though, Brett Leeson would remain on the power play with Cutter, and that second, or that, I guess, third line you would call it, that mini stack checks in at 6.4K. Brett Leeson is a guy who will do stuff. Cutter is actively doing stuff. Brett Leeson is well trusted. He's a Cronin guy, if you will.
Yeah.
So even though Gauthier isn't, Gauthier is certainly good enough. He's just continued to shoot the puck like an animal. So if you are saying, well, 20% owned one-offs aren't my type of deal, what about a 3% owned Cutter Gauthier for a few hundred more? I could live with that.
Any interest in Zellweger or Mintyukov?
Limited interest. Again, 4,500 for Zellweger is really tough to pull off. I have no interest in 3,700 for Mintyukov. I would rather play. I think I'd honestly rather play Drew Hellison, like 2,900, just punt garbage. But I'm not playing non-Zellweger defenseman here.
I think that's fine. Yeah. No red flags on my end. Mintyukov getting the minutes again. I know last year early on he was kind of a bit of a DFS darling, and has had a little bit of success here or there, but the price is kind of coming up again. He said he hits box bonuses here or there, and like I see like the correlation, but yeah, probably unnecessary on this slate. This game feels like there's a lot of value in it, and again, you're going to need the value. But I do think it's going to be a bit piled on for Seattle because of the matchup, and that is concerning. So that's probably why I try not to come around to it, but it is an option. LA is the other spot that people might look for value in general just to play because they're playing the San Jose Sharks. So the Ducks and the Sharks all season long, we're going to be talking about how they're teams to stack against. It's not going to come as a surprise to anyone. LA rolled with Turcotte, Kopitar, Kempe last game as their top line. Byfield scored on the top power play. So you have that? Yeah, you do. Okay. So Byfield, LaFerriere, Kopitar, Kempe, Fiala. You might notice there's no defenseman on that unit. That means that Brent Clark was not on it, which is true. 5 forward power play for the LA Kings. do think people are going to look to Quentin Byfield, the prospect pedigree, the this, that, the other thing, the $3,700 price tag. He has certainly not broken any slates as of late. Hasn't really done a ton, but it's a really good matchup. Him and Leverrier seem at least interesting. Leverrier's price has gone way up to 5,300 now. And weirdly enough, he hasn't scored in a while, but his price continues to rise. What are your thoughts here for the LA Kings as they travel to San Jose?
Yeah, this is this is now the third game this is now the fourth game of the LA Power Play 1 nonsense, where Brant Clark is not on it, whatever. And so I did write about this in my Wednesday slate breakdown last week, so we haven't seen LA on a podcast slate in a little bit, I guess, but I did write about it for the Wednesday slate, and basically I complained that this is what I meant. This is not what I meant when I said that Byfield had some jump and could possibly earn a Power Play 1 job. Well, he did it, and yeah, like you mentioned, he scored on it, so probably sticks. And Leferrier will continue to stick then in that case. So that's a correlated mini stack. I'm not sure that line number matchups matter against San Jose, but if a third line matchup with San Jose is to your liking, they are a combined 9,000 for two really talented players, Byfield especially, with decent rates in their past as well. More Dano Fiala stands out to me as from a price perspective. Fiala at 6,200. He's transitioned over into the Kempe spot on the power play with Kempe manning the point. So, is this really going to impact a ton? I don't think so, but we go from Fiala being the sort of pass first option to a one-time option, just given now he's on his weak side versus the strong side role he played before. So I do think Fiala one-offs are more interesting because he should focalize more of the shots through his stick versus him being the assist guy on the power play. It's so unlikely to matter on a one game sample that I'm not telling you to one-off Fiala over Kempe, for example, but you certainly could. It saves you $900. And then we get to the top line. Kopitar's just maybe back. I don't know. He's leading the league in assists, and most of them are primary assists. And even though he's not shooting a ton, turns out those are points too for fantasy. And if they score, 5-6 goals here, which he very well could, Anze Kopitar for 6,400 could very well enter into your lineups. So, yeah, I'm not going to build an argument against any of those forward lines. I certainly would not tell you to play any of these defensemen, though. They're all dependent on blocks, and I just don't think the San Jose team will muster up enough volume to give you any defensive blocks. So play whatever forwards you want. Just don't play the D in LA.
Yeah, all around agree. I think I slightly lean LA too. Dano more Fiala. I'm not sure exactly how I'd play it, but I do like it a lot. I think every matchup will be somewhat soft, but we can kind of move over. Where do you normally that's a shutdown line. Who do they go against? They go against Celebrini, Smith, and Gaudreau. Do they go? I don't. It doesn't matter. None of these lines really scare me from a defensive perspective. I think they can take advantage of and control possession against any of them. So
yeah,
I'm intrigued. Well, yeah, go on.
The Granlund line would almost certainly go out against Kopitar. And
Kopitar, right?
Does that scare anyone? Probably not.
No. I mean, no, and that's probably the line I'd be maybe the most weary on if I had to force myself to pick one, and that means that shouldn't be Dano. He should be out there against Celebrini, who is a great player, but this line is not going to be producing Selke winners in Gaudreau, Celebrini, Will Smith this season. So I like the matchup a ton. And the thing is that they are playing Celebrini a ton. I get why he probably is their best player already at 18 or 19, but regardless, I don't really see a scenario where I'm clicking on San Jose players. Mikael Granlund is way too expensive. Celebrini's fine for the price, I guess, but I do think that, again, he's going to draw one of the better defensive centers in the league. And it's pretty broken and jumbled, and LA defensively has been great. So no reason to play San Jose here. I love LA. I think that it's just a better pivot away from what could be chalkier and obviously much cheaper Seattle. But I think people will play LA. I just don't know how much they're going to play LA too. And I think that they're kind of in a pretty good spot. So I am interested. Does that bring us to the DJ Slate recap, the famous one, or is there anything else you want to say first?
No, I echo all your thoughts on LA San Jose completely. So let's do top stacks, guarantee goals, and then have you recap the slate for another 45 minutes, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay, fine. Top stacks. I'm gonna go way back to where we started. New Jersey 1, Brat, Hughes, and give me which Hughes you may be asking. Both, Luke and Jack. Put them both in there.
Wow. Ambitious. I dig it.
I'm brave. I'm a brave person.
I am going to go with Vegas, but I'm going to make it a game stack. I'm going to say Eichel, Theodore, and screw all the wing garbage in Vegas. Let's just go with the greatest wing of NHL history, Matvei Michkov, 4K Michkov, to complete the game stack with a resurgent Jack Eichel, a concentrated D-line minutes, D-line? D-core? There we go. D-core minutes, Shea Theodore, and Michkov, the GOAT.
I honestly love that. That's probably how you do it if you're going to do it. I'll go
like
LA
power
2
plays.
Yeah, I'll go LA
Please.
2 for my second to kind of go a little bit cheaper. I just talked about it at nauseum just a few seconds ago, so no need to really get crazy. But if you're wondering if which Donnell, Moore, and Fiala, so yeah, those will be the stacks for me. And then I think I saved myself enough cap to find a couple, maybe like a nice little mini in there somewhere. So what are you finishing off with?
God. You know what? I'm just not going to go down with this Islander ship. So give me Kachuk, Stutzla, and Adam Gaudette.
Coward.
Adam Gaudette is finally here. It's finally his time. If I think he's better than Shane Pinto, why would I not play him here? Again, the rates on a per game basis, I just don't think they look good because he's been playing 8 minutes a night. He's not going to play 8 minutes alongside Kachuk, Stutzla. Maybe that just doesn't stick and he's not alongside those guys for long. But like Calgary is the least offensive matchup I could imagine. Like it's just, you can do whatever the hell you want. The goalie's going to stop it. But if you want to shoot the damn puck, you can shoot the damn puck. And you know who shoots the damn puck? Brady Tkachuk and Adam Gaudette. They will both shoot the goddamn puck. So let's just hope 5 of those go in and I can finally make money playing Ottawa or playing against Calgary.
Probably a little more swearing than we needed for the Adam Gaudette hour, but
we're talking about Calgary. No amount of swearing is too much. This team is obnoxious.
You hate the Flames, and I like growing up. Like it was always my second favorite team. I don't know. I just loved Jarome Iginla.
Who doesn't?
Like
this team is not Jarome Iginla.
Yeah, they don't have Jarome Iginla anymore. But yeah, okay. Let's get to the guaranteed goals.
So bad.
Okay. All right. So last slate, I had Jesper Bratt and Voronkov. They both scored. Matt, you had Patterson and McMichael. They both didn't score. So that means that whatever I say this time will be wrong, and whatever Matt says this time will be right. That's how we do it here. Almost every time that Matt goes 0 for 2, he goes 2 for 2 the next time out. And every time I go 2 for 2, I go 0 for 2 the next time out. So whatever I say, ignore, and whatever Matt says, you should bet. Matt, with all of that nonsense that I just said out of the way, do you have anyone that you like here?
I'm trying to think of if there's an option to make it work. I don't think there is. All right, I'm going to go Seth Jarvis.
Seth Jarvis. Wow.
5K.
Jarvis. Okay, well, that's a guarantee that he will be scoring. That's how they do that on the guaranteed goals segment. I should probably look at the DraftKings thing because I'm looking at other stuff and I'm not going to know the pricing. I will. I'll go Brock Nelson. Wait, were you going to go Brock Nelson? Actually, You're right there, right? You're not there.
No,
All right, I'll go Brock
6K.
Nelson. I like that. I like that a lot. You got like 6K and I'm at like 5.3. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
God. So I wanted to go with Matt Boldy, but I just couldn't think of any 2-point whatever guys that I wanted to play. But now with a nice 6K remaining, I God damn it, Connor McMichael again. on the number, Connor McMichael. I gave the only betting tout I think I've ever done on this show where I was like, Florida should not be this big of a favorite. Why not correlate that with the same game parlay garbage of McMichael to score and Capitals to win? So there's your other guaranteed goal in Connor McMichael 2.0. This time he does it though. This time.
So wait, I have. Oh wait, so Nelson was 47. Oh my god, I thought he was 57. He is really cheap.
They're so cheap. I don't get it.
Holy crap! I literally was like, oh man, I have 6,300. Do I take Matt Boldy? I'm just kidding. I can't afford Matt Boldy. Oh my! I mean, it's Fiala for sure, but that's my stack. Who cares? I'm taking Fiala. I make the rules. Nelson, Fiala.
Absolutely no conviction.
I have conviction. It's in Kevin Fiala, the cover boy. He's right here. It was the Swiss boys today. You know, I got the Swiss. Yeah, perfect. Nelson, Fiala, Jarvis, McMichael. That's pretty sexy, actually. I kind of like that. Okay, no. So to recap, what I've been trying to do every time, and I guess some people, I've never done it. Maybe I don't know.
Some people,
I try to just
the entire people came out of the woodworks. People I've not seen in the Discord came into the Discord to tell me that they had not seen you, they had not heard you ever do a recap, and you're sitting here saying some people said they've never heard it. No. Nobody has ever heard this.
Most
before,
people, I don't believe, recall the recaps that I've been doing. No, all I was doing was saying, like, the recap, I like the Devils. I like the Vegas Flyers game. I like either side, really, but I love Eichel. I like the Islanders, too, a lot. And Minnesota, not Minnesota, Winnipeg, a little bit of Seattle, and I love LA. And just kind of going through, like, again, these are my starting points. This is where I'm looking at right now. We're the first look show. We're what's the opposite of the swole cat? The weak cast. I'll work on that. I'm gonna work on that. But yeah, first look show. So sometimes you just got to give the people a little starting point.
The shrivel cast.
That shrivel cast. What's it called? Atrophy. Is it your boss's atrophy when you don't work out?
Yeah.
The atrophy cast. That's the biggest word I've used probably in a year on the show. So there you go, everybody. I do have a brain. It functions a little bit. That's kind of where my starting point is. So with all that being said, like, rate, review, definitely comment to say that you love the traditional and always a reoccurring segment of the recap from me. Yeah, I don't know, do all that stuff and have some, we'll talk Thanksgiving more next time. But for the Wednesday slate, that's like 14 games or something. It's ridiculous. It's a huge slate, 13, 14 games. Prepare yourself. Anything else?
The Sabres on this slate, which means they will remain in a playoff spot by points percentage, regardless of what happens on Monday. So, shout out to Colorado. Us for being the best.
Go Colorado. Yep, go Colorado. Go Washington, and I guess go St. Louis.
All right. So that'll do it from us. I'm on Twitter at Fake Moods. Follow me there. Also, my newsletter, moods.beehive.com, also linked in the video description and in the podcast description. DJ is at DJ_Mitchell94. There is a dub club that DJ runs. If you want to be a part of that, it is free. You can also send him money for no reason if you want via that, which is cool, and you should do that because giving us money for no reason is great. And yes, as DJ mentioned, subscribe to the YouTube so that you can give us money for no reason in the future. We need a certain number of subs in order to offer that. So when some of you get millions upon millions on betting my guaranteed goals, you can pay us back in some way. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube and help us out in that way.
Yeah, we're up over 400. I don't even know the number right now, but we're up over 400 for sure. We're at 420. Wow, we'll smoke some weed
Oh
or
my
something, everybody.
That is so cool.
Get
That is
your,
so funny.
no, actually, never mind. Nobody subscribe. Nobody unsubscribe. Nobody subscribe. We want to stick at 420 forever.
Yeah.
That's freaking. What did you say? The one podcast you said like a reefer or something.
I think I used that word. Yeah, smoking the reefer.
Oh my God, we need a lot of help mentally. What we will worry
need so
about
much
that
more than
after after we win the $10,000. If we win $10,000, either of us, I'm sending Matt to Calgary to watch a Flames game live in person.
Send me to fucking rehab.
Okay. With all that being said, let's get out of here. Matt, close it out.
God. Thank you all for enduring this adventure with us. From Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a great Monday slate, everybody, and we will see you.